9:30.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Suckling on the teat of tech.
With Paul Brislen.
Yeah, let's talk some high-tech business with Mr. Paul Brislen. G'day there, Paul.
Good morning. Sorry for all the jangling noise. I'm just cleaning my six-shooters and putting my spurs on.
Oh, well, your harness? Do you need your harness on?
No. I think I'll just mosey on down to the local, to the Wild West, in fact.
Well, the internet has been called the Wild West for a long, long time.
It has, hasn't it?
But there was a New Zealand government minister who's come out and used that term to describe bloggers in New Zealand this week.
Yeah. Sheriff Simon has ridden into town and declared it a lawless, godless society, and he's going to clean us up. And he's going to do that by treating all bloggers and Twitterers and Facebook posts potentially as if they were in the same boat as journalists and news reporters and television. And he's doing this because apparently the internet has no rules and that offends him.
But what triggered this for him? Why is he talking about this?
This is all off the back of to be a little bit more serious. It's a ministerial inquiry that will look at whether or not the rules that govern information on the internet need to be tightened up, because according to Simon Powers, there are no rules and it's just the Wild West and people are doing crazy things. And it's all off the back of Cameron Slater, whale oil to his friends, being done for contempt of court for trying desperately to reveal the names of people who had name suppression as they were appearing in court. Now, the fact that he was indeed prosecuted and found guilty of breaching name suppression orders would say to me that not only is it not the Wild West, we actually do have rules and regulations, and they just actually need to apply some of them to what's going on in the blogosphere. The problem is you cannot treat every person who has access to the internet as if they were a journalist. They don't have the training. They don't have the understanding around what is how do you define defamation, what is libel, what is legal and what is not, and it's basically the same as trying to regulate every conversation in every pub or at every barbecue in the country as it happens in real time. It's really just not something you can really get your teeth into without biting off an awful lot more than you can chew.
Well, if you want to see what the Wild West does look like, though, in this realm, probably the Trade Me message boards would be the first cab off the rank.
Yes, and do not take any of their advice literally, because I've seen people in there asking for medical advice, marital advice, legal advice, and getting it from people who really shouldn't be allowed to write things down. But even though they are talking rubbish and they make stuff up and they tell lies, there is absolutely no law against it. In fact, the freedom of speech that we have in New Zealand would say to me that take it with a grain of salt, but there's nothing to stop them saying any of those things.
So is the worry here, though, that the government's going to come up with some kind of draconian measures, some kind of censorship?
Some government, model where we have rooms full of grey-suited men sitting around saying, well, that young Wammo chap just said something really rather alarming on his Twitter feed. We'll just check that with the Chief Censor's office, or take him to the, not the advertising standards, but of course the Press Council or something like that.
Yeah.
Not only are these organisations not set up to handle hundreds of thousands, they're not even set up to handle thousands of complaints a year, because, they're set up for the media, the mainstream media, which has relatively limited number of newspapers and television shows and outlets, which already has this process in place for a fairly small number of journalists. If you suddenly expand that out to everybody in New Zealand who has a Twitter account or a Facebook account or an email address, suddenly you're on a hiding to nothing. The danger is they go the other way, of course, and say that bloggers have none of the safeguards that go with journalism. That is, you can't attend the lockup for the budget announcements. You're not allowed to protect your sources. Suddenly perhaps there'll be a whole new raft of rules around the internet which are at odds with the real world journalism. And so it's a really big piece of work he's undertaking. Having said all of that, I think it's probably worthwhile we undertake it, and they've certainly set a long enough deadline. It's at least 18 months, I think, before we'll see any results from this. but it is a big body of work, and I really don't think going in saying there are no rules on the internet, it's just a free-for-all, therefore we need to clean up the town, is perhaps the best approach to take.
Okay, all right, well, we'll obviously keep tabs on that one. Another big technology release this week for Microsoft, Windows Phone 7, which I think you've got to be careful. It's not Windows 7 Phone, it's Windows...
No, it's not Windows 7, because that's an operating system, and it's not Windows, it's Windows Phone 7.
Yeah.
And this is their latest foray into the smartphone world, and I should declare my interest there. I work for Vodafone and we sell phones. So there we are. This is really quite exciting, because Microsoft has tooted around the edges, I think it's safe to say, of the smartphone market. The Zune, which was launched partly as a smartphone, partly as a dumb phone, it couldn't even send text messages, for example, had rave reviews from people who liked Windows stuff, and everybody else ignored it, and it was withdrawn after, I think, about 2 months. So this is their latest attempt. They've got a range of handsets coming out, and it launches in the not-too-distant future, and they've completely revamped the operating system that sits in behind it so that it is far more user-friendly. So they're really sort of aiming for the not the high-end developer market, as far as I can tell anyway, but rather the mainstream consumer. So it'll be very interesting to see how they fare against the likes of Apple and Nokia, the Androids, of course. BlackBerry's getting into it in a big way as well these days. Really, it's quite exciting.
But also, really, it comes down to, I think, when you're starting to think about your smartphone choice, is what kind of environment you already do a lot of your work in. So, some people are very Mac heavy, so therefore they're probably going to go for their iPhone. Me personally, I do everything through my Gmail. I search Google. I've got the Google Calendar. I do the Latitude thing. So exactly. I'm very much Google. But if someone was all about Hotmail, goodness knows why, and searching on Bing, and you had an Xbox and stuff, maybe then the Windows 7 phone, Windows Phone 7 will be you.
Yeah, and that is the way they're pitching it, is that this is part of the Windows family, so that practically everybody on the planet uses a Windows operating system on their PC. Practically everybody on the planet uses Outlook for email. Now you can get it all in a mobile form factor for your cell phone as well. Yeah, and it's good that they've jumped on the bandwagon. They're a bit late, I think, to market. You would have expected Microsoft to have done this a couple of years ago. But as I say, it's never a dull day when there's yet more choice in the market, and I think that's really something to be applauded. And as you say, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's whichever one works for you. Hey, and now there's more choice.
Finally, Google Goggles. What is it?
Google Goggles. I love Google Goggles. This is a Google application which allows you to take a photo of something. What's that building over there? You take a photo of it, and Google goes off and analyzes it, uses all the smarts it can find, and says, that's the Sky Tower. You must be in Auckland, New Zealand. Here's all the information about the Sky Tower. Which is really quite good. It also does logos. It does all manner of things, paintings, artwork, you name it. And legend has it, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but legend has it they launched it quite some time ago in the US and had to pull it because you could take a photo of that pretty girl across the room, and it would say, "Oh yes, that's Joanne, and here's her Facebook page, and this is her Twitter account, and these are other photos of her on the internet." And that there were quite some privacy concerns there, so they have scaled it back. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes a great story. I've been using it all morning for the last couple of mornings, and it has completely failed to identify my daughter's teddy bear, the Philips logo on my CD player. What else did it miss? It did get Simpsons off the stove right, but it didn't. It tried to link me to The Simpsons rather than Simpson oven appliances.
Right.
But it's bad for fun. So I think if as another application on your phone, completely pointless and quite a lot of fun, really. Highly entertaining.
But no doubt will hopefully get more useful over time.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully it will actually evolve into something we can do something with.
There we go. We've covered the Wild West, Windows Phone 7 and Google Goggles with Paul Brislen. Thanks, mate.
Anytime. All good.
See you next time.
Cheers.
Twitter.com/Paul Brislen. In the meantime as well, if you want to continue the conversation.